Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Hope Watts, board certified family physician, health coach, speaker, and lifestyle expert. I am coming today to just give you a different perspective on things, and hopefully, you're doing well. I know it's a difficult time for everyone. You have all voted, and I'm really proud of you. We have come out in record numbers, which is wonderful. And I know there's some difficulties in the White House, but we will be able to get through this also. The weather's getting cooler now. We've got our first snow in New Hampshire. I had to go out and buy another coat because I come from Charlotte, and it's a little warmer there than it is up here. So I have a snow coat. And I grew up in Philadelphia, and I forgot how long it takes to get ready for, putting on your boots and your socks and your scarf and your hat. And so I've had to include that timing in when I'm getting ready to get out of the house. So hopefully it's not as cold where you are and you don't have to wear as many clothes. It's really interesting. I haven't bought a coat in quite some time, and the variety of coats out there are phenomenal in all different styles. So we're just going to take a few minutes and wait to see others kind of come in. And COVID-19 is skyrocketing exponentially, it seems. So I wanted to pause and just give people a different perspective on how to cope with COVID and ways to be expressive and ways to just feel good about yourself. So just give each other a few minutes. And I know that Thanksgiving is coming up, and I wish everybody happy holidays. And I know that the recommendation is not to do large gatherings, and many are just going to stay at home, and I plan to do the same. But don't forget, you can always touch bases on FaceTime, Zoom, or WhatsApp, whichever technical, or Skype, whichever one you use, to stay in contact with family and friends. So let's talk about COVID and how we can cope with COVID, how we're feeling about COVID. Many of us are experiencing trying to cope with COVID and all the demands it places on us. For example, we have to wear a mask all the time, and sometimes it's hard breathing through the mask. We have to stay socially distanced. And that's something new because we normally have to, we're normally around people and we're close to people. I remember going to my mobile phone company and asking about different features and things like that. And even though I was trying to push back, I realized that the attendant just kept coming closer because we're used to being close to people. It has impacted many areas of our lives. Shopping, we have to, go at earlier times than where I am here. In New Hampshire, many people are not wearing masks. So it presents a difficult situation, and I need to, go at different times so that I'm not being bombarded with all these people who are not wearing masks. And yes, the amount of COVID has increased in New Hampshire. Some of us have also experienced financial loss. Some of us have lost our jobs, and some of us have lost businesses. And these are great losses, especially if this business was something you had dreamed of owning. And that can be a special situation for you. Some of us have lost loved ones, and and sometimes it's really hard to wrap your mind around the suddenness of losing them, and um, how you cope with death and the grieving process that goes along with that. I did have the opportunity to go to a virtual funeral, and I could see everything there, but I just could not connect with the people there. So others may be experiencing social isolation, and this could be because you're working at home now, and and people who are older, who are used to being at home but are pretty independent, have to stay at home because they're in a high risk group. Many of us worry about our health and the health of our loved ones. And I can truly understand that. We had a family member who was working in a nursing home, and COVID cases started to increase, and there were no options. This person couldn't just say, "Look, I'm not coming back." That would have been the end of her position there. But we had to, encourage her to continue, and we just prayed with her as she went about her daily activities. And many of us are worried about finances. Um, the last stimulus bill did not take effect at all because the Senate did not vote on it or refused to vote on it. So many people are in situations where there's no other income that's coming in, and there's nothing for their businesses also. And sometimes these conditions and these situations can create reoccurring negative thoughts as to how the bills are going to be paid and how you're going to cope with it. Living with stay-at-home orders is very difficult. And I can attest to that because the only thing that we were allowed to do earlier on was just necessary things like going to the supermarket. And so that kind of changes how we interact with people. I found it a little difficult to be spontaneous with people, and I think you're finding that same thing. And a lot of places are going back to staying at home or mandating that people only do the most basic things that they have to do. Sometimes emotions like fear, anger, anxiety, and depression occur. And these are feelings that normally come up when we're in a pandemic situation, and they can develop because we're in we have such a sense of uncertainty about what's going to happen next, and how we're going to cope with these changes. And there could be other things that we're dealing with, such as disruption of eating and sleep, because we're worried a lot. And there could be problems with concentrating, feeling confused, difficulty making decisions, because our whole lives have been uprooted and we're not where we were once, where we didn't have to think about all these measures. In view of all these things that we're experiencing, there are ways that we can cope. And there may be ways that you never thought of coping before. But the main thing is to stay connected with friends and family. And we can do that through Facebook, Zoom, or WhatsApp, whichever one, or Skype, whichever one you use. And there are plenty of other ones too. Let them know how you're feeling and what you're experiencing. And sometimes what we're experiencing is something that we haven't experienced before. For example, we do have loss of loved ones, but another type of loss is loss of colleagues that we used to work with. And some of them are our friends, and we're not connected with them, or we're not seeing them on a regular basis. That's a loss too, and we need to take that into consideration when we are talking about how we feel. Job loss, of course, is another thing. That's another loss that we're having. And we are social beings, so interacting with others is very important for our well-being also. So other things that we might want to do are revisit old hobbies. I recently met someone in my office who has been doing a lot of knitting and crocheting for others. And this is her way of relaxing. And I realized at some point in my life I had been doing some crocheting, and I thought about restarting that because that's a way of relaxing. And you're not thinking about all these other things about COVID and what's going on in the political system, and that can help calm us down and keep us relaxed. The other thing someone suggested to our older relatives, because they may not have all the bells and whistles, they don't have a smartphone, one of my relatives says they have a dumb phone. So writing letters to them or writing cards can be a way of connecting with people, especially older people, and bringing these other people into your realm sphere of communication that may have, I know sometimes it's hard to get in contact with people, and older people really enjoy hearing from you, and sometimes a letter is all they need. Other people that I know, have decided to have Zoom presentations for their grandchildren. And this particular productive person decided she was going to teach them about credit, teach them about saving money, and budgeting money. Because as you know, none of this is taught in the schools. And so many children leave school not knowing, and I left school not knowing how to, manage my credit or anything like that. Fortunately, they only gave me a credit card with $100 in it, so I couldn't charge but so much. But she is determined that her grandchildren are going to know what finances are and to save money. Another person that I encountered is helping his family members and he's trying to teach them how to purchase rental properties. Now, that in itself requires a lot of teaching and following up, because a lot of times we're dealing with realtors, and sometimes they may not have our best interest at heart, but he has been very productive in finding rental properties and finding finances also. And he's showing them how to have either one or like single family homes or two family residencies, and how they can make a profit from that. There are some other things that people are trying these days, and that may include doing board games. And you can do some of them online. Like Scrabble, for example, you can do that online, and you're playing against all these other people, and you can get a score that shows you how many words you've gotten right and how you've worked through all the necessary things to do really well. My brother had been doing this for years and then challenged me to a Scrabble game because he felt that he knew more words than me at this time. But those are fun things that you can do, and you just feel relaxed. There are other things that you can do. There are tours of museums online. I've done that just to see, because some of these places you never even go to. So you could see what the museums look like and what other things they have available in their pictures, their statues, and maybe small videos of certain things that have happened in history. The other thing we need to, inform you of is to Prioritize self-care. With feeling worried and not knowing what's going to happen next, and some people may be on the front lines and have seen people that they've worked with, and all of a sudden they're not there anymore, or they're in the hospital. It may be difficult to really stay on a schedule because of all the other things that are going on. So a recommendation is to continue to eat healthy. We had talked about the Corona Belly sometime way before. And so that includes making sure you're getting a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. Usually the recommendation is 5, and drinking plenty of water. And we also said to resist eating a lot of snacks. And I know sometimes that's hard for me because I like chips. So sometimes I'll start eating chips. The other thing is going to bed at the same time every night, because sometimes that can throw us off sync and we'll feel grumpy and irritable and not be able to be in the moment from day to day. So it's recommended that you stay on target and stay on time on a regular basis for improving and keeping your sleep habits on a regular basis. The other thing is exercise, and we've talked about exercise before, and this is to really help you deal with stress, because a lot of times if we expel stress in our physical bodies, it helps us cope with stress on with other things that may be happening also. Additionally, one thing that I find that have been helpful to me is to avoid listening to the news about COVID and about the politics for long periods of time. I find that limiting it to like maybe 15 minutes when I come in just to get the gist, or sometimes I can look at a news feed on my phone, which gives me some of the highlights of what's going on, is sufficient for me. There are times that I've looked extensively on some of these other shows, these televised news programs, and I've had a very hard time sleeping. So I would suggest that you just get the basics for that day, or the highlights, and they're probably going to repeat them tomorrow anyway, but avoid spending a lot of time on those news programs because it can be very detrimental to your mental outlook. The other thing is take time to renew your inner self. Sometimes that requires prayer and Bible reading or meditating. Sometimes doing autogenics can help you to calm down, refocus, and have a different perspective. Sometimes we can press the pause button and find other ways we can help people in our community. Of course, there's still going to be, the mandate to wear the masks and to social distance, but we can gain a sense of well-being by helping others also. Food banks are just one of the areas that people do need participants to help with them. Also, reflecting on things that are going well for you in your life. Take time away from focusing on the negative. We've also talked about staying connected with friends and family. But what about some people are actually planning to buy homes and they're still in the process of doing it? Reflect positively on that and be grateful because some people aren't able to do that at this time. Looking for a new job. Sometimes people decide during this time that they are going to look for a new job and put their resumes out. So that is a very positive thing to look forward to. Awaiting the birth of new grandchildren. That is always very exciting. Celebrating an anniversary. you know, thinking about how many years you've been married or an anniversary at work. Also, planning a marriage. And some of these may be difficult to celebrate in the large groups that we once had, but it's still a milestone and it's still something positive that we can reflect on. The other thing is reading good books. There may be a list of books that you've wanted to read or plan to read, and you have the time now, and so you can read them. Some people are doing them with the book itself, but paying for all those books may be cost prohibitive, but getting an Audible subscription may be something worthwhile, and you can read more books than you really thought you could. I know some people are using Audible and the books that they find very fulfilling, then they'll buy the paperback or the hardback book. Also, there may be Netflix series that you have wanted to see the whole series, and now you can do it. So I am going to conclude now, and I hope these suggestions have helped you. And there are plenty more. People are being very creative in how they are responding to some of the aspects of COVID-19. Some people are just helping other people in any way they can because it makes them feel better. So in COVID-19, we're all going to get through this together. But just remember, there's still a silver lining, and we can find some of those positive things that we can do to help people and positive things that we are doing to make us feel a lot more productive and to make us feel better about the situation. I am Dr. Hope Watts, board certified family physician, health coach, speaker, and lifestyle expert. Please check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Hope you have a wonderful week, and hopefully you have some happy holidays this week also. Thank you.